This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. And welcome to my review of The Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 8, titled Bad Territory. And just as a small note, I am going to be keeping my recaps and reviews separate. And I made this decision because I want to get the reviews out a little earlier. And I do want to spend a good amount of time for the recaps since those are mainly for people who don't have Disney Plus or aren't able to watch it. And, for whatever reason they have, maybe they don't want to give Disney their money, or maybe they just don't want to watch the show for whatever reason. I want to give them an opportunity to be able to know what happens in it. But I wanted to keep the reviews just separate from it now, so I'll be doing the same for everything besides the Clone Wars recap and review since the Clone Wars is going back for older ones, and the recaps will usually be out either later in the day or maybe the next year or day after, depending on all the time I have. And going now into my review, honestly, this was a weaker and the weakest episode of the season. It still had some great stuff in it. The stuff between Omega and Crosshair was, as it has been for this entire season, incredible. And Fennec Shand was really nice to see again. But this one was going a little more towards some of the weaker episodes from the previous seasons, but still did make a lot of sense. This episode wasn't bad. In fact, it was a really enjoyable episode. But compared to the absolute incredible episodes we've had this season, this is easily the weakest one. But still, it is such a great episode overall. The story was really well told, and they did give us some interesting stuff where we got to see what people are basically calling Space Florida, which is honestly pretty funny. And it's interesting to see everything here. I think it would have been cooler if they didn't show the alligators or space alligators or whatever they're supposed to be in the trailers. And it would have been way cooler if they just kind of showed up in this episode not knowing that they would come. But going to other stuff, the main thing I want to talk about is the ending, where Fennec contacts someone to tell them she's found clones who are looking into M counts. And I think that this is honestly going to go one of two ways. And it really all depends on the story that they want to tell. And the first way it could go is, which is the way I think they'll be going, and that Fennec will remain an honorable character, and this will give us a connection to her in Book of Boba Fett, where she does honor her deal, and she's either contacting Asajj Ventress or maybe even Boba Fett, even though you could say they never met. It doesn't really specifically say that in the Book of Boba Fett, and we could easily explain away that she just doesn't recognize him because it could have been a long time, plus the fact Boba Fett is presumed dead, and that he's a clone. He has the face of a lot of other people. It would make this make a lot of sense. But honestly, looking at just some other stuff, it is most likely going to be Ventress, although I would love to see Boba Fett because it'd be awesome for him to meet Omega. But going into the rest of it, the bounty they went after, it was a fun story, and everything in here was interesting enough. As I said, this isn't my favorite episode of the season, and probably is the weakest, but still was a really solid one. And I think it was also really cool to see the stuff with Crosshair as he is discovering that his tremor in his hand is more psychological, and that he is able to try and beat in other ways, but Omega is using meditation to help him. Who knows if it'll work, but honestly, it was pretty interesting. I really want to see where they go because even though this was a little bit weaker, it still had some great stuff, and this season has been truly incredible. And if we're talking in terms of overall content and the consistency of it, this is being a better season than Clone Wars Season 7. Although that season has a storyline that's going to be almost impossible to beat, being Siege of Mandalore and Order 66. But in terms of consistency, mainly because of the Martez sister arc, this season is being consistently better than Season 7 of Clone Wars. But honestly, I want to know what you think, because I really enjoyed this episode, as I said. It's just the weakest one on the season, which is something that has to exist, and hopefully everything else is even better than this, because if this is the worst we could get this season, that is totally great, because that means we'll be having an amazing season. But honestly, I want to know what you think. So please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.